What's up guys, I'm Hailbot and welcome to my Luigi's Mansion first-person VR tutorial. In this guide I'm going to be showing you two things: how to set up first-person VR for Luigi's Mansion, and how to set up decent motion controls using Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. The motion controls are optional and are really just for extra immersion. They feel rough at first, but I ended up getting used to them and playing through the whole game using them. I have bundled everything you will need except for a Luigi's Mansion US ROM in a zip file that you can find in the description below. This guide may seem a little tricky at first, but if you follow all of my steps exactly the way I do them on screen, you should get the same end result I do. With all that said, let's get started on setting up the game. Alright guys, before we get into anything too crazy, we need to first check something real quick. So, if you have, this is really only important if you have a normal version of Dolphin installed previously, or already on your device, you'll need to do this. So basically just go to your file explorer and find documents. You can find it here, you can find it under this PC, wherever. Open it up and you'll find, you should find a folder called Dolphin Emulator. So what you want to do, correction, if you don't have Dolphin Emulator installed, then you won't see this and you don't need to worry about this. This is only if you have Dolphin installed already, like a regular version of Dolphin. You'll go here and you'll see a file called Dolphin Emulator. And basically, we don't want to mix this one with the one that Dolphin VR is going to make. So you'll rename the one that's Dolphin Emulator into Dolphin, and this is what I did to mine. I named it Dolphin Emulator Normal, or Norm, so I know it's the one meant for normal Dolphin. And so if I wanted to go back to using normal Dolphin, and not Dolphin VR, just to play games normally, I'll change this one to Dolphin VR, so I know, and I'll change this one back to Dolphin Emulator, so that way it reads the one. It'll read this one, because it'll read whichever one is just called Dolphin Emulator. But for this tutorial, we're going to be using the one that's meant for Dolphin VR. So basically, all you'll do is you'll come here, you'll see a folder called Dolphin Emulator, and it'll rename it to Dolphin Emulator Norm, or Normal, or whatever you want to call it, so you know that it's that one. You just have to add something. You won't have a second Dolphin Emulator folder yet. But when you do it, as long as you've changed the name of that one, then it'll make this one on its own. So you won't see a second folder here yet, but it'll make one once we get far into it, and it'll set itself up too. So after this point, you don't need to worry about it. Just make sure you change the one that you already have to Dolphin Emulator Normal or something else, so that you know what's what. Alright, so now that that's dealt with, download, in the link, there's a link in the description. Download it and it will give you, you'll download Luigi's Mansion VR.zip. I put all the things you'll need for this guide in here. So basically, there's this folder in here, extract it to the desktop, and then we don't need that anymore. Now we'll open this folder, and we're setting up first-person VR right now. So first you will want to run this installer. I'm not going to do that because it'll mess up my recording, and I already have it installed. But basically just run this, install it. This is a special version of Dolphin VR. I don't think they distribute this one on their main website anymore. I could be wrong, but just use this installer. Make it easy. Just make it easier on everyone. Use this installer. You'll want this specific version. So you'll run that, install Dolphin VR, and once that's done, you'll have, I believe it'll auto-make a shortcut, a nice shortcut for it. It might not look exactly with this name, but it'll give you a shortcut to it. This is to mine, so I'm going to use this. We'll open it up. You shouldn't see any games here when you load it up the first time. Now, you can either open the file directly, or you can You can, like, where is it? I think in configuration, go to paths, and you can set up, just click add, and you can set up a path to wherever your games are located. But you will, actually, you can't use open. You will have to set up the path so it shows up here. So that way you can right click on it like this. But real quick, you have to have a US version of the game. I'm not going to provide you with a US version of the game, so don't ask. But you will need a US version of the game or this won't work. So now that's done, right click on it and click on properties. Now as I go through this, just kind of make sure your settings are kind of the same. Don't worry about anything on this page. I will speak up when you need to really worry about it. Just know that's going to happen though. So basically, first we're going to go to AR codes, because we need to add some action replay codes. We'll go back here. There's a file called codes.txt. You can open it, and it's got all the codes that you're going to need in it. I'll also put them in the description of the video, so you can either get them from this file or you can get them from the description. Either one will work. So basically, you won't have these two codes here, or most of these codes actually, but it might be blank here. But don't worry about that, because we're going to add the ones that we need. So you will click add. We're going to make the first person, and we're going to just copy this, copy and paste it. And then you're going to click OK, but I already have it set up, so I'm just going to cancel this. Make sure it's checked. So that code was for first person. This one is optional. It's just if you want the Poltergust on your back or not. It's completely optional. Some people might find it like it might break the immersion, so they choose to get rid of it. It's whatever you want to do. I personally like it on though, so we'll leave it on. By the way, Laser Crusader is responsible for making these action replay codes, so a huge thanks to him. It made this setup a lot easier than what it was originally going to be. So that's all. Now it's all said and done. You have your action replay codes added. Make sure they're checked. Now we'll go to hide objects. This will be blank. You won't have this, but you'll go to add. You'll make hide duplicates, and you will change it to 128 bits. And then we'll go here, copy this, and you will just paste it here. And then you'll click OK, but I already have it, so I'm going to click cancel. Make sure it is checked. And I'm so sorry, but I can't remember for the life of me who made this code. I don't know where I got it from. If you are the person responsible for making this code, just comment saying that you're the one that made it, and I'll check out your channel, because I remember what the video I got it from looks like. I just don't know I just can't remember it right now. So if you point me in the right direction, I'll and it's on your videos on your channel, I will credit you in the description, but just let me know on that one. Okay, now that's aside. That's all set up, all good. Basically, we're done here. We can close, just make sure it's checked. And now we're going to go to the configuration settings. Basically here we just want to make sure that cheats are enabled. I'm pretty sure it sets up all this by default and it should all be good, so don't worry yourself about it. Next, we'll want graphics, and this is where things get really important. You want to make sure you're using Direct3D 11. These two don't support VR, and I think OpenGL sucks last time I tried it. You can try it if it's your only option, because these settings differ per computer. But if Direct3D 11 is an option, definitely choose it. The rest of this stuff, this should all be unchecked. Leave these to auto, and this is dependent on your computer, so don't worry about it. Next, we'll go to the Enhancements tabs. Mainly focus on these checkboxes here. None of these other things, these 3 settings, are important. You can adjust them once you have it all set up if you want better visuals, but it's all just depending on how powerful your computer is. I could probably bump mine up higher, but I just didn't want to take the chance for when I was live streaming this for things to go wrong. Don't worry about this stuff down here. It actually auto sets it when you start the game, so it'll all be good. Next, go to Hacks tab. Now this tab, this one's important. Make sure these settings are checked the exact same way I have them here. Make sure there are no differences between your setup here, and my setup here. If something is different, you could get awful results. Just make sure these are all set properly. They are all very important, and I don't think it's really an option to go without them, because it looks terrible without them. And advanced, all unchecked, easy enough. So now that that's done, just make sure whatever controller you're using is set up. I'm using just the keyboard to show it off real quick. I'll explain this more in the controller, the Joy-Con setup that I'm doing after this. So if you're interested in that, just keep watching once I finish up the guide. Sorry about allergies. Anyways, that's good. Map it to your controller if you're using a controller and know how. But other than that, we are all set. Now I actually realized I need to cut the video here because I'm gonna run a test so you guys can see what you should be seeing, but I'm gonna have to do a cut because my recording software messes up whenever I start the game. So basically I'm going to stop the recording, start the game, and then restart the recording. So I'll see you in a second. Okay. Alright, everything looks good. Something I want to point out, if it lags on the title, don't worry yourself too much about it, because usually the game doesn't actually lag when the title does. Kinda weird, but don't worry about it. Alright, so if you see this in first person right here, you should be good. Things should be working out for you. Life is great. We're gonna go to the mansion real quick just so you can see it. Alright, if this is what you see now, well, take into consideration, you'll only see the left eye of my headset here, but, if things are working out for you, and you see this now, then, you are good, and, everything should work out great for you. If you don't see this, if you don't see a preview like this, it should be going in your headset, but if you don't see a preview like this, Simwanu, just go to the VR, button here, and, where is it? There is disable mirroring. Just uncheck that. Hit OK, and you should have a preview. But yeah, if this is what you see, then it should all be good. So now I am going to go ahead and move on to. Oh wait, real quick. The Poltergust. If you like it, great, leave it on. If you don't, just uncheck that one code from earlier. All right, cool. So yeah. Now, I'm going to move on to the Joy-Con segment of this tutorial. So I decided while editing to split this guide up into 2 parts, so that way the optional part of the guide doesn't make the main guide appear too scary and long. If you want to see the optional part of the guide for motion controls with Joy-Cons, click on the video right here.